They are calling 50,000 for me to renew, just to renew 50,000. And I don't have that kind of money. So say now, I can't do it. Because if I have that money now, in fact, I will go back to Nigeria. Yeah, the last permit I did, I used 30,000. The last permit. So with 50,000, with this I'm doing here in the street, how will I survive? I can't do it.
For years, the government has told South Africans the same story. Foreign nationals are not taking your jobs. But step out of parliament and walk down any street in Mzansi, and the reality looks very different. Spaza shops are entirely dominated by foreign nationals, and if you need a plumber or a builder, contractors are actively bypassing South Africans to hire undocumented workers. And you might ask yourself why. That is because they are cheaper, easily exploited, and the business dodges SARS and labor laws entirely. This isn't just an immigration issue anymore. It's a systematic economic crisis. And now the dam has broken.
Voluntary repatriation program.
Repatriation site in show.
Nigerian government says the repatriation will be fully funded.
The repatriation process was set to begin yesterday.
We are currently witnessing one of the largest mass repatriation in recent history. Since January 2026, the Interministerial Committee reported over 40,000 undocumented foreign nationals have been arrested. In just 1 week in mid-June, over 2,700 were processed for repatriation. Different countries are scrambling to get their citizens out. Malawi had over 7,000 of its citizens sheltering in Durban waiting for buses. Nigeria and Ghana are coordinating chartered flights out of OR Tambo, and Mozambique is actively sending transport to the borders. This momentum is massive, but amidst this chaos, some bizarre solutions are being proposed.
In the past month alone, just to indicate this one, more than 7,400 illegal immigrants have been arrested by the SAPS for contravening the Immigration Act. And since the 1st of January, law enforcement agencies or operations conducted across the country have resulted in the arrest of more than 40,000 illegal immigrants in the country.
Take, for example, a recent proposal from the repatriated Ghanaian national. He suggests that instead of deporting undocumented migrants, the South African government should just ask them to pay a fine so they can stay. Stop and think about the logic here for a second. If you fled your country because of crushing poverty and came to South Africa looking for greener pastures, how do you suddenly have the capital to pay a massive government fine? Are undocumented immigrants living so well in South Africa's informal economy that they can casually afford to pay off government penalties? If people have the money to pay a fine rather than go home, it proves exactly how lucrative the unregulated, untaxed underground economy really is.
I want South Africans especially to understand that there is no rivalry between Ghana and South Africa. We are all one. Hence, we have a saying or abbreviation of names which we call it Bagana Bagana. That shows the unity between South Africa and Ghana. Unfortunately, some of the current generation do not know the existing history between South Africa and Ghana. Hence, we have to go back down to the history memory lane. Ghana is the first country in Africa to gain freedom. And after we gain our freedom, we said and we declared our freedom is meaningless until it is linked to the total liberation of the entire African continent. Hence, we supported the ANC, but we pray that one day the South African government will find it in their heart to grant amnesty to all undocumented or illegal foreigners, because deporting them costs the state a lot. Instead of deporting them, the government can rather impose a fine, even if it's 5,000 rand for any undocumented or illegal migrant to pay that fine and probably get a year permit or a year visa. So that fine of 5,000 or 6,000 or 10,000 to be determined by the state can be allocated to probably a BMA.
But how did all of these people get in, and how did they stay? The Special Investigating Unit, the SIU, gave us the answer, and it's enraging. The system didn't just break, it was sold. The SIU uncovered that corrupt Home Affairs officials turned the department into a literal market.
We found that, for instance, in one area, one person made 3 applications, referred 3 applications just to WhatsApp. It was 10 o'clock in the morning. By 12 o'clock, the application was approved. It was 1 o'clock, I think around just before 2 o'clock, it was approved, and the third one in the afternoon. And that person managed to make about 10,000 rand in one day, just as a result of that type of an operation. So this is the systematic problem that we have been dealing with. Some of the approvals were granted through WhatsApp messages.
Nearly 300 so-called low-ranking administrators have since been referred for criminal prosecutions. The SIU alleges they pocketed more than 16 million rand in bribes and illicit payments.
What about the people above? Isn't there like an oversight function within Home Affairs that would have picked this up? Or did the corruption go all the way from the bottom to the top?
One of the things that we found was that there were no proper governance mechanisms in place.
At all in the entire department?
Yes, because then we would not have reached the scale and the magnitude and the weight of the issues that have been identified.
We aren't talking about a few bad apples. We're talking about a highly coordinated syndicate. Visas were being sold for 40,000 rands. Approvals were happening over WhatsApp. The SIU found that just 4 low-level officials who earned less than 25,000 a month received over 16 million rands in direct bribe deposits.
Once you have someone documented in your country, obviously that someone will have some rights. Let me, for instance, myself, I'm a refugee. A refugee has all the rights like yourself, but what we don't have rights for is to vote.
Police officer, sometimes they can ask you for a passport. You give them a passport. They'll try to create something so that we'll have to give them money. You don't have passport. Chase me back my place. Chase me back to Mozambique. It's better like that. If you are accepting money, you are the one. The management of the border, the police of the border, customs, all of the ones that are working in the border are the one who are allowing illegal immigrants in this country.
There are 2 major syndicates they exposed. The work visa syndicate, enabling cheap labor exploitation, and the study visa syndicate, where people cross borders, claim to be students, pay off an official and disappear into the country permanently. Even Checkpoint yesterday came with a really important and amazing episode which speaks about why these people are actually saying they don't want to leave. And when I say these people, I mean illegal immigrants. They're saying that they have paid a lot of money for them to actually leave the country. According to them, they have to stay in South Africa because they have bribed officials a lot of money for them to actually retain their fake citizenship in our country.
Mostly we are focusing on the visa. The study visa that were issued out. There also we found syndicate, but syndicate was involving the official and the outside parties, whereby they were foreigners, whereby I think they realized that applying for visit visa and other visas was quite stringent, and also they will give you 3 months. But with study visa, they can give you five years because you are purported to have come here to study. So that's what they were ledging on. And what we found it out is that the official were charging close to 40,000 to facilitate a visa. And meaning that if you deal with 10 in a day, you go home with 400,000. So that's what we found. So they were issuing out this study visa. Then there was a well orchestrated whereby there was a sort of so-called institution somewhere else where there was already somebody there, who's alleging to be at administration for that institution, whereby when Home Affairs called to say, is so-and-so studying there, then they'll say, yes, Heidi is a student here, he's studying here, and this is what he's studying on. So it was well. And what they didn't, I think, pick up is that all of them were studying the same institution, and all of them were studying, the addresses were still all the same. So that's how we managed to identify that this is a modus operandi. There's something here that is going on. That's how we managed to identify it. So that's what they were doing. They were issuing a study visa, When it's expire after 5 years, you go and get another one. 5 years, until you stay forever into the country, studying without even knowing what is it that you are studying.
Which institution? I mean, when you say it, it's unbelievable. But I mean, the fact that this is happening, I guess that links to the next question about whether or not the SIU, if you can speak on this, investigating identity books that are being given fraudulently or illegally, especially with what's happening in the country at the moment. Are you investigating that? Can you give us any update on that?
Yeah, no, we're not investigating issuing of identity documents. I think we are just investigating the issuing of the visa. And there are quite a number of visas. There's a work visa, there's a study visa, there's quite a number of them that we are looking at. But with regard to the issuing for the TT documents, we are not looking into that for now.
One of the biggest reasons amongst many why people are always looking for refugee is because in their countries there's war, there's criminal prosecution. All are some of the reasons why people leave their countries seeking for refugee. But in this context, people just leave because of what? Better opportunities. It's so funny and so painful that those better opportunities are for them. They are the ones who have these better opportunities, not fellow South Africans. We as South Africans that are living in South Africa are suffering. We don't see those better opportunities that other people can see.
The government is too poor at that side. But making how can I say, a business also, you have to get a start. So where you'll get a man to get that start. So you have to look for something so that you'll get something, just to get maybe something like to start something to make a life better.
Having decided to leave home, crossing over was the next big step.
When I left home, I made sure that I've got a passport so that I'll cross the border without a problem. But at the border, there's a lot of things they are doing there, because always they will need money. You're right, you're not right. You stamp at Mozambique, they will ask you for money. You stamp this side of South Africa, they will ask you for money. So the challenge at the border, it's only church. They like money too much.
Another good example to show that people just come to South Africa is nothing to do with them seeking for refugee. They just want to come into the country. We know about the prophets and the pastors that have left their countries, came to South Africa illegally, the same way they left South Africa illegally.
The most audacious cases involved not celebrities, but men of the cloth. Among them, self-proclaimed prophet Shepherd Bushiri. According to the SIU, Bushiri arrived in South Africa in 2015 on a renewed visitor's visa, despite never having previously entered the country. Investigators allege his permanent residence application was later fraudulently approved with the assistance of a Home Affairs official who belonged to his church. The SIU further alleges Bushiri paid a chartered accountant just 500 rand to sign a false declaration of financial independence. Another controversial figure, Pastor Timothy Omotoso, allegedly obtained a fraudulent work visa through the South African mission in Botswana. When that permit expired, investigators say an acting chief director at Home Affairs unlawfully granted him a waiver from key visa requirements.
But how then do we forget about celebrities? You remember the guys who had a crush, and it was then later revealed that this guy happened to be in the country illegally, and even the purchase of that particular vehicle was purchased illegally. What is worse is that even the child or the son of the former Zimbabwean president Robert Mugabe, who is Bellarmine Mugabe, he was arrested recently for attempted unaliving of his gardener. Even though he got a sentence, he was deported back to his country in Zimbabwe, and his co-accused is currently serving sentence for the attempted unaliving of this particular gardener. He just paid a settlement and he went back to his country. He was deported back to his country because it was revealed that he was also in South Africa illegally, since he did not renew his visa or permit, whatever the case might be.
Nigerian rapper Prince Daniel Obioma was allegedly in South Africa illegally in March last year. It took this spectacular McLaren accident in Sea Point to expose his high-profile illegal presence in the country. The SIU later found that the vehicle had been purchased cash using a traffic register number allegedly fraudulently obtained, sparking the discovery of a wider pattern of abuse of South Africa's vehicle registration system by foreign nationals.
This brings us into the ultimate contradiction, which is from the Minister Mamoloko Kubai, who is the chairperson of the Interministerial Committee. Recently, she stated very clearly that South Africa does not have refugee camps and will not build them. The policy is that asylum seekers are integrated straight into community while their papers are being processed.
We should not be expected to carry on and establish refugees camps. It's a policy decision, it's a legal decision that we have taken as a country that we will not create refugee camps. And that, because of that policy stance and decision that has been taken, even temporarily so, we do not intend to create.
But how can you have an open community integrated policy when the people stamping the papers are taking bribes? You are blindly releasing people into the population with zero tracking. And the government's latest tough stance, they say anyone deported now is declared an undesirable person and is banned from entering South Africa for 5 years. But let's be realistic. How do you enforce a 5-year ban when our borders are basically open doors? More importantly, a piece of paper banning someone for 5 years means absolutely nothing to a corrupt officer who's just looking for the next e-wallet bribe. The government is currently putting a band-aid on a bullet hole. Until we fix the rot at Home Affairs, arrest the officials who sold our sovereignty, and hold the employers exploiting the cheap labor accountability, these repatriations are just a temporary show. You can't fix an immigration crisis until you fix the corruption that built it. Hence, one of the biggest arguments that are made by people like the March and March leader, which is Jacinta Ngombese and Phagelum Takati and the rest, they are arguing that let us start by deporting them. That's the first thing. Then let us fix our country. And by saying let us fix our country, they are basically saying the government should ensure that they have the proper safeguards at play to ensure that this does not ever happen. Because it has been proven over and over again, even through the Matlanga Commission, that we have officials that are supposed to implement the law, ensure that our laws are properly followed. Those are the very same people, guys, that are very much betraying us because of the love of money. They never get satisfied. What they're happy about is that at least they can make that particular amount of money because they have been siphoning millions and millions of rands in the name of you are illegal, therefore give me something. This has also been displayed from someone who's from the LGBTQI plus community from Checkpoint, who said that in their country, LGBTQI plus communities are not allowed. People can express themselves with their gender, and South Africa has rights for them to actually do so. So he left his country, came to South Africa, but the police officers then came and wanted a bribe from him because he does not really look exactly like a person who's in the ID document because he has changed the transition in terms of his gender.
As you know, that Zimbabwe doesn't allow LGBTQI people, if they caught you red-handed, they will put you straight to jail. Remember, if you're a refugee, you cannot go back to your country of origin.
He landed, no hassles.
It was a smooth go, give them the passport, then the stamp, then I came in. Yeah, I never experienced any challenges there.
Renewing his documents after transitioning was understandably not a straightforward matter.
I went to Home Affairs to renew my document. That was in 2010. And when I went there, the lady, they took our documents and they went inside. Then someone just came and took me in and said, come this side. I thought maybe I was going to receive my documents. Instead of me receiving the document, they take me to the police. They were like, it's fraudulent. Then I was like, how come you say it's fraudulent? This is me. I'm a transgender person. Because the picture that they were having and the picture that I am today, it's no longer the same. By that time, I was not having my partner. Then the policeman said, give us something. Then I gave them something. Then they released me. Then I came back home.
We're looking at a very serious problem in South Africa where police officers are literally taking advantage of this whole situation. As much as we are saying Mabahabe and the call from the leaders of this march, they're saying that people, they must leave the country so that the proper laws can be implemented in the country and these borders can also be safeguarded. And we want to see the arrest of these corrupt officials from the Department of Home Affairs and from the borders, because we haven't seen anyone being arrested, but foreign nationals are telling us left, right and center that they're actually paying for bribes. What are your thoughts on the SIU findings and the 5-year ban? Drop your thoughts below and don't forget to like, subscribe for more deep dives into the stories shaping our country. I'll see you in my next upload. Bye.